All right, so the next one here, Israel-Syria talks propose U.S. troop deployment. So Al Monitor reported on Tuesday that talks between Israel and Syria have included discussions on the possibility of U.S. troops deploying to areas of southwestern Syria that Israel captured following the regime change that ousted former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. So immediately after Assad was overthrown in December 2024, Israel invaded southern Syria, capturing a buffer zone that was established in 1974 between the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and the rest of Syria's territory. And they also pushed further into other areas, beyond the buffer zone. They captured the Syrian side of Mount Hermon, and some of that was in the buffer zone, but some of it is beyond it, as I understand it. So sources told Al Monitor that under a potential quasi-normalization/border deal, U.S. troops could replace the Israeli presence on Mount Hermon, and Syrian government forces could be deployed to the buffer zone to prevent forces hostile to Israel from entering those areas. So they're apparently discussing U.S. troops being put in the middle of this for Israel's interests here. The report said that the discussions have not included anything about the side of the Golan Heights that Israel has occupied since 1967 and annexed in 1981, and this annexation has not been recognized by any countries except for the U.S. The U.S. recognized it under Trump's first term in 2019. And so the U.S. has troops in Syria still, and they plan on maintaining a long-term presence. They've been closing some bases in northeast Syria, but as I understand it, they're planning to keep the base in Al-Tamf, which is in southern Syria. It's about 160 miles east of these areas currently occupied by Israel. So, the U.S. is really pushing for this normalization deal, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that they go ahead and do. But I think there's so many obstacles in the way of the two sides actually reaching a deal that I would be surprised if this deal actually happens. What I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that the U.S. would put these troops here if a deal happens, which I do think is unlikely. The U.S. has been very friendly with the new Syrian government, which is led by Ahmed al-Shara, a former al-Qaeda leader who founded al-Qaeda in Syria after traveling from Iraq, where he first joined al-Qaeda in Iraq to fight U.S. troops there. He was thrown in prison for a while, and then he was set free, and he went over to Syria and started the al-Qaeda branch in Syria, and then he rebranded in 2016 and 2017 and started his new group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and that was the jihadist group that took over Damascus and ousted Assad. And now the U.S. is lifting sanctions and pushing for some sort of deal between Israel and Syria, and it could involve U.S. troops being deployed. I have to give credit to Kurt Mills of the American Conservative, because he tweeted about this. I wouldn't have seen it otherwise. Al Monitor has a very tight paywall that's tough to get past, but we have an account. So, but anyway, it's something that I don't think has gotten much attention.